Get that for you very quickly. It's right on Google. It's about 52% of our electrical power generation, I believe, is from coal, and then a smaller portion of that is from hydro, and then a smaller portion is nuclear, and then an even smaller portion is renewable alternative. So that's essentially what I do. If you take a look at Japan, Japan has, I think it's 50% of their electricity is produced by burning oil because they don't have coal. Surprisingly enough, they have a lot of nuclear plants there. And France gets 70% of its power from nuclear. So again, there are these alternatives. But this country, in the first half of the last century, we electrified the world. In the second half of that century, we computerized it. Why shouldn't we be the ones to lead the new energy economy? We're the ones who can do it. Get that. Sir?
Could you typify your challenges for what you're doing as one of overcoming an installed infrastructure? I mean, if I've got coal, I've got a lot of coal in this country. I've got a plant in Tampa that burns coal. I've got a guy that hauls the coal. I've got a slurry pipe.
Well, the first thing we want to do is we want to go get RPS. Anybody know what an RPS is? Renewable Portfolio Standards. A number of states, and I should have it off the top of my head, but as you can see, I don't do anything off the top of my head. A number of states have these renewable portfolio standards that state that a certain percent of the energy produced in that state will be produced from renewable energy. Guess what the Sunshine State does not have? What is it that we need to go talk to our local politicians about? What is your position on a renewable portfolio standard for Florida? And if we're going to be the Sunshine State, let's be the damn Sunshine State. You know, right now, what's going on in the Gulf, and I fly across that quite often, is just tragic.
It's criminal.
But we got nobody to blame but ourselves. So we got to do something different.
Is it true that they fly by different nations on all those oil wells, like the Deepwater Horizon is supposedly the Marshall Islands?
Well, wait a minute. Who's in the 35% tax bracket in here? 25, someplace in there?
Yeah.
Anybody in the 10% tax bracket, like a lot of billionaires in this country? You know why? You know how they do that? Well, we just flag that oil platform as Mauritania, because Mauritania won't tax it so much. Now, if there were any pirates running around there, what flag would they run up? It'd be us. But right now, there are so many loopholes that are in the tax code that were written, you know, in the 1920s, for God's sakes. Do you know that we still have a rural electrification group in Washington?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, you guys start working on rural internetification, that's fine, but we have got to hold our political leadership, the ones we put there, responsible for these things. So when you go to the polls, when you start thinking about going, you need to start thinking now. I'm not giving you a political speech, but you got to say, what is it that I'm expecting of my political leadership? I'll tell you what I'm expecting. If they're going to be in the state of Florida, I expect a renewable portfolio standard. If they're going to be representing us at the national level, I want to know what they're doing to get my $35 billion from big oil, $35 billion from big coal back, and what they're doing to help create the markets. You know, Adam Smith says governments don't create markets. Remember that part about my first sergeant? I'm not going to say what he would have said there. The way they do that, the way governments create market, is by either putting on or taking off controls. And in this case, if they were simply to say, you know, we're going to have a national renewable portfolio standard that says 25% of our power is going to come from renewable and alternative energy. We have enough geothermal energy in this country to be able to power the entire country just with that. Solar, wind, all these great things. We've got those there. What we don't have is transmission lines. Wherever there's really, really great wind or sun, nobody lives there. It's funny because it's usually, the place where the wind is the best is usually around dams, because the wind follows the same course the water would follow. So.
Yeah, one of our local representatives to the House, Keith Fitzgerald, started a bill, I think, 3 years ago in the House, and the Republicans, they killed it. They did one of those things where they just buried it in the committee and never brought it up. But the key to that was that would be a Florida law that requires the power company, FPL, to purchase excess electricity. And right now, they don't have to do that. And you can't, it's very hard to get a model going that will induce homeowners, for example, to put in solar power without being able to sell their excess power. Gainesville, I don't know if you know it or not, Gainesville has its own power company, and they do that, and people are converting to solar power right and left up there, because if you know that you're going to have income over the next 20 years from selling excess power, you can go to the bank and get a loan to put your power system.
You get the loan from the bank, you also get a meter that spins the other way. You take drain off the power company, and why TECO and FPL, when you're a monopoly, you tend to be a little less interested in bringing other people into it.
Yes.
So that's why we need our political leadership step, and if another one of your little litmus tests for your political leaders is how are they on feed-in tariffs? They're called feed-in tariffs.
Right.
All I want to do is I'm going to put my solar panels up, I'm going to run my house, maybe a little battery storage, but you know what? If in the afternoon, TECO, you need electric power, a couple kilowatts, I'd be happy to sell them to you. But I want to sell them to you at the same rate you buy them from me.
That's right.
Okay? That I sell them to you. Let me think about that. Hang on a second.
I buy them.
You know what I meant, right? 2, 5, 3, or 6. Because right now, what in many of these cases, the trade-in tariff is what's called the avoided cost. Well, since I didn't have to buy this extra power, build this extra power plant, the avoided cost is really like 2 cents a kilowatt hour.
Yeah.
4. So there has to be significant changes to our utility laws. And again, all the utilities, they are monopolies. In many states, the utility is the only person that can sell power. The law says that.
Yeah.
Well, you can generate all you want, but you can't sell it to anybody unless you sell it to the utility, and you can only sell it to them at
Bad price.
their price. So, sir.
It's the utility companies that are using the supposedly clean coal. Now, as a boiler technician, I've gone through several of the boiler courses, and I have yet to see anything that can burn coal clean.
You've never seen a police? Let me see, who's got a ring up? We got a diamond in here?
Diamond, yes.
As my wife points out, that's the only clean coal there is.
Right.
I can call it clean coal all I want. I've got some clean mud, if you like that too. The fact is, it's chemistry. It's what happens when you start breaking carbon bonds. And, hopefully we can scrub it. Everybody worries about, cap and trade, that's gonna destroy us, it's gonna make, all that is gonna be put on the backs of the consumer. Wait a second. Oil companies, you made $20 billion in profits in the first quarter, and you're going to pass this through to me. How about sucking a little bit, maybe one less yacht race? Again, what are we willing to accept? And we have the right to vote. We have the right to vote with our dollars. It's where we spend our money.
I like your ideas though, because that works, because there are military bases in just about every state.
Well,
Every state can benefit from this.
if you look at the map, it's all around the periphery. Because the Air Force and the Navy got all really cool bases, and they put us in like Fort Hood and stuff. But if you look at all those things, and all those things were producing power, now suddenly you have excess power, you have all these power stations on the outside feeding into a grid. The grid is the most magnificent machine ever created. It is